Experiment Nation, I have a special gift for you. If you're in the Airbnb space, or if you're thinking of getting into the Airbnb space, you're an operator with multiple units, your first unit, your 100th unit, just about to get into Airbnb, you are going to want to get this blueprint that I put together for you. Now, I want to give context of how this was put together, because sometimes people assemble these ideas and top 10 lists, top five, top this, and it doesn't have any true valued vetted content. What I've done is I've surrounded myself by the best top short-term rental Airbnb operators in the world. I co-authored a best-selling book with them called Hospitable Host. I've had them on my platform and interviewed them to get the questions that you guys want to learn the most from into the episode, the show, the real estate experiment, as you know. And I've also paid tens and thousands of dollars to be sitting in the room to get these notable insights that we implement ourselves as short-term rental operators. I'm a short-term rental specialist. I'm licensed to do it in the respective markets. You know, we build ours in Georgia. We have a management company ourselves. We're Airbnb Superhost. So we not only talk the talk, but we walk the walk, but we still consistently surround ourselves with the best in the space to get us further ahead. And this is what we've put together, an Airbnb Millionaire Blueprint, where you don't just hear it from me, you hear it, and it's an aggregate list. It's 21 pillars from short-term rental operators worldwide who've implemented this and it's worked. And these are the exact same way we've been able to get results and get the same results from implementing these insights that I've pulled from multiple faces, right? Some people have tons of arbitrage units like TJ Tijani. Some like Bill Faith have just a few. Some like Michael Shogun has boutique hotels. They've scaled. And whether you have 1 unit, 10 units, or 100th unit, or about to get into your first unit, you're going to want to have this blueprint that you can utilize universally wherever you are in the world. Want to get this. I put together, we took a lot of time to put this together this year after all that we've been implementing in our lab, for you to have a guide that you can leverage, right? That you can use and implement. We've also given and tagged everybody that we've featured in and giving them credit, so you know where the source is coming from, and you can check out their Instagram. You can see that they're vetted individuals that we not only work with and trust but learn from, because sometimes you get a lot of different information, and I want to make sure I give that credit where you can find out that person. And we've also, if they've been on our show, we've also linked the episode within this free blueprint. It's the Airbnb Millionaire Blueprint. Want to make sure you go to experimentrealestate.com. Once you get there, you'll see the pop-up that says I have something for you. Just scroll down, enter your name, enter your email, and we'll get it right sent to you. Don't want to sleep on this. We've been putting this together for quite some time, and I know that it will serve you regardless of where you are in your journey, to have an Airbnb Millionaire Blueprint that has been collectively vetted and has been sourced from operators who are operating at a high scale. Experiment Nation, you are welcome. Make sure to go to experimentrealestate.com and get your Airbnb Millionaire Blueprint, so that you can also scale to the level of experiments that these practitioners like ourselves have done just for you. Experiment Nation, we'll see you on the other side. Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all. Dave, man. So I was just talking about this offline, right? Because, you know, we've been wanting to get this call on for a minute now. Or at least I have. I don't know about you. You're probably like, oh yeah, I've seen Ruben. I'm like, listen, I gotta get Dave because I know my peoples, right? I know my peoples. And so you know, we were just talking about this before we went on the air, that there was that era of Clubhouse, and I believe you still do like a daily host show on Clubhouse, or
so Clubhouse, we I set up a room right at the beginning, so it's been going for nearly 2 years now.
wow.
The We Talk Property, or the Property Coffee Meet by We Talk Property, and we do it Monday to Friday, and this is UK time, so 7:30 till 8:30 in the morning every day, all about property. We have a
2 years strong.
Yeah.
Damn. I already know what your blueprint is there. See that consistency. I just recently pulled out the book The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy because it's just such a reminder that you refine something over time, over and over and over,
100%.
and then you get that compound effect. Dude,
Yeah,
so
so
it's
like the boring,
crazy.
mundane things that you do day in, day out, consistent, that kind of make the difference, right?
Yeah, success is it's not sexy. Like you just gotta rinse and repeat. So that tells me already a lot about you, that you took on Clubhouse and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna make it consistent. Let me ask you, like, let's we're gonna get into this, but just I think there's proof is in the pudding, right? And there's like a common denominator in some of these things, so that's why I don't want to just overlook that. When you're deciding on an opportunity like that, you're like, okay, we're gonna do this every day. What's the thought process? Is it like we're gonna test this out, see how it goes? Is it like no, I've looked at the data, I know that if we stay consistent we get good results? Like take me through the mind of Dave as you're making these decisions, because that's called commitment. So like how do you make that decision?
So with Clubhouse, let me tell you the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clubhouse started during lockdown.
Yeah.
So it was boredom. Somebody sent me this thing on text saying, look, you should get into Clubhouse. I think it'd be great for you. You'd get a lot from it. So I was like, okay, I'll get into Clubhouse.
Yeah.
To it. And for the first, probably for the first 2 or 3 months, we were on it every single day from Monday to Sunday for about 2 or 3 hours a day. And I found myself being on there sometimes for like 6 hours a day. Well, there's nothing else to do during lockdown, right?
Yeah.
So there was no kind of like data behind it. I wasn't looking at it going, oh, this is going to give me X amount of exposure and followers. I just thought, what a great place to go and learn from other people.
Mm-hmm.
Set up a room. Actually fell onto the property coffee meet by chance, really. There was another young guy called Harry Williams, who's now a business partner of mine. Mm-hmm. He opened a room. I was like, he's on his own. I'll just jump in the room and have a chat with him. And from there, more property people come in. And it just grew from there. And now we've been going for 2 years. We've got some fantastic moderators, from all different property strategies, some with 30, 40 years experience, some with less than a year. It's a great room. 100 people come to the room every morning.
It's still popping. That's crazy because it's what's interesting about that. I know there's a lot of us who are in Clubhouse, but there's not that many who necessarily stayed. But you decided to stay and conquer, which sometimes, I mean, that's it right there. Like, can you stick through it, right? Which is interesting, right? Because I was just telling you, like, we just passed a 200 plus episode, and like I know apparently podcasters, there's again, you got to check the statistics on this, but apparently there's a lot of people who stop at episode 6, which is interesting.
200 episodes, that's a huge show, right?
Yeah,
it's a massive show. That's fantastic. I mean, how long have you been doing your podcast for?
Since 2017, but it wasn't the same format. 2017, I was documenting process. We've been going consistently interviewing for like the last 2 years.
Consistency. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, you guys know how, like, Experiment Nation knows how incredible and rewarding it's been, from whether it's deals, relationships to, right.
So I think with your podcast, and it's probably the same with Clubhouse, it's not about what happens in the room or who you meet in the room. It's the relationships that you build with the people and what happens outside of the room that make a big difference.
100%.
The business that I've done outside of Clubhouse has been amazing. What I've learned from the people that are on there that are way ahead of me, I would never have met. The Clubhouse moderators now, from when we started, there's only one on there that I actually met before Clubhouse. All the rest of them I'd never met before, and I've learned so much from them. It's been so educational. It's been great for me personally, for development, for everything. And the business that we do outside of Clubhouse is massive.
Yeah. So tell us. I mean, I couldn't agree more with you. That's why I'm like, don't even send me down this rabbit hole. I could talk about this forever. But So tell me, so we talk about businesses, right? So someone, I meet you, at a conference, or Clubhouse, and well, Clubhouse is a giveaway because it has like the lengthy bios and you can put everything, right? But I'll just meet you and say, hey man, I'm Ruben, Dave. What do you do for a living? What do you say?
So my normal response is I'm a property investor.
Mm.
Okay. And that normally pricks people's ears up because, well, in the UK, you call it real estate investor, right? Over in the States.
In the States, yeah. Real estate
Over
investor.
here, it's kind of known as a property investor.
Mm-hmm.
And, that pricks people's ears up straight away because everybody wants to get into property at some point because they know that it's such a great business and a lucrative business to get into.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, I'm a property investor, but mainly invest in short-term rentals. If you don't know what a short-term rental is, that's, maybe you know it as an Airbnb.
Yeah. Let me ask you, do you, what do you say? Because people are like, oh, it's not short-term rentals. It's not Airbnb short-term rentals, which I agree. But what do you think? Because I've been saying Airbnb / short-term rentals, or short-term rentals / Airbnb, because, you'll get most of people's attention if you say Airbnb. If sometimes you say short-term rentals, and I don't think people know what that means. Like a short-term rental, like it kind of goes over their head. So like, what do you use? I'm curious. Do you use Airbnb a lot, or?
I use a mixture of short-term rental, serviced accommodation, and Airbnb. I think, well, hell, I've just written a book and I've called it Airbnb Simplified. So that kind of tells you what I use, what I'm using, because most people know what an Airbnb is, right?
Yeah.
If you say to somebody serviced accommodation, they might be like,
yeah.
You say short-term rental, they can be like, but if you say Airbnb, because of the marketing that they do,
it's like Xerox. It's like a Kleenex. I need a Kleenex.
Exactly, or a Hoover.
Yeah, an Uber. Yeah, I mean, even though you're getting into a lift, and you're like, dude just got into a lift. Do you guys have Lyft?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like not a lift. You have the lift, like the pink. Yeah. I guess they have to be. They're international company, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know. I'm just asking. I mean, I've been, by the way, I've been in the UK and stuff, but I don't even remember. Like even here in New York, we still got the yellow cabs, and then everyone,
Yeah, I mean, look, in London, in the UK, we have the black cabs as well.
Yeah.
The black cab, we have Uber, we have. There's another one called Bolt. There's another one called Bolt. Which,
there you go. Yeah. So property investor, and then with a niche in Airbnb, aka short-term rentals or furnished accommodation, right? So how'd you get into it? Because I feel like personally, right, are you familiar with Bigger Pockets? You guys familiar? You guys have a community? Bigger Pockets is it's probably a dominating community of investors. Like if you're an actual, shouldn't say that because there's obviously big time investors who don't know anything about Bigger Pockets, but Bigger Pockets has done a really good job branding, and like it's basically a forum. It's like the Facebook place for real estate investors, and they have a huge podcast by Brandon Turner, and now it used to be Brandon Turner and David Green. Now it's David Green and the other gentleman, but they did a pretty good job of like, okay, like this is the blueprint of investing, and most people know it. They use the word house hacking. They'll use the word BRRRR, buy, rent, rehab, refinance.
Buy, refurbish, refinance.
Yeah, exactly. That they've coined that term. They have all these books now, and so, but like the rule over there is like the 1% rule, right? And it was like always, you buy something for 100K, you want it to be 1,000 or whatever it is, right? A month. So, that was kind of like the foundation, at least that I always knew, until I was kind of like started drinking the Kool-Aid and someone planted that seed. So I will always remember. Shout out to Michael Strogan, right? Because that was Michael Strogan planted that seed for me. And then I went down this rabbit hole, and then next thing you knew, and kind of build a business. So for you, property is one thing, and this is why I love this show, because there's the real estate experiment means there's multiple verticals. Of real estate. There's storage, there's short-term rentals, there's everything, and then there's Airbnb, right? So how did you fall or come across Airbnb?
Okay, So let me go back to the start then. So, I mean, I got into property. How did I get into property? So about 12 years ago, I had some money that I had in the bank, and I wanted to buy property and do it up. So I've always bought my own properties and lived in them and moved on, but buying an investment property was slightly different. So I had a good job. I was like a project manager for a home improvements company doing conservatories and orangeries on the back of people's houses. So I knew how to work with trades, and I bought my first investment property about 12 years ago. And we call it flipping over here. I don't know if you've used that.
Same thing. Yep. Fix and flips.
So you buy it, you refurb it, and then you sell it for a profit. So I started doing that, and I didn't really know it was called flipping back then. I was just buying stuff, doing it up and making a few quid. And I did a number of those, then had a buy-to-let portfolio, so rentals, rental properties. And in the UK, we started getting really taxed heavily on those types of properties. We weren't able to offset interest when we had properties in our own name, and there was loads of things around it. We called it anti-landlord taxes. So we're landlords in this country. I had somebody in one of my properties in Chester, which was a 3-story townhouse, the centre of Chester, which is an old Roman city. And it was something that I'd lived in. I moved out. I then rented it to somebody else. She was great for about 2 years, and then in the third year, she didn't pay me. I couldn't get her out of the house. And in the UK, we have laws that you can't just, when somebody doesn't pay you, you can't just get them out of the property.
Oh wow!
So I had about 12 months of no pay. I'm sorry, not that much. It wasn't 12 months. It was maybe 6 months of not being paid.
But it felt like 12. Let's be honest. As an investor,
well, that's probably why it's a kind of
still traumatized. You're like, man, that felt like shoot.
Yeah.
24 months.
Exactly that. So at that time, there was an opportunity for me to do something different, and I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
And not just in my buy-to-lets. I wanted to get out of my job that I was in too. And I had a good job. I was an operations director for a large home improvements company in the UK. But I wanted to get out of that because my girlfriend at the time, or my fiance at the time, she was pregnant. She fell pregnant, and I was going away on a Sunday evening, not coming back till a Friday evening, being like a zombie for a couple of days, and then perking back up and going again. And I was like, well, I don't want to be doing that when I've got a child around, and I don't really want to be doing that for my fiance as well. So what can I do to make more money out of what I've got? So I went on started doing some audio books in the car, reading books, and I did some property training on multiple strategies, not specifically serviced accommodation. But while I was there, I was hearing people talking about serviced accommodation and what was good for it. And the property that I had in Chester just seemed to be the perfect property. So let me have a go at it. I'll try it. So in the first instance, I got a management company to come in, manage that property. And in the first month, it did about £3,500 in revenue. And I was like, wow. And I was netting like what, £1,500 to £2,000 in net. And I was like, wow, this is the way to go, right?
And this is not the same property where your tenant was not paying, or it is?
So I kicked her out. Well, I managed to kick her out. She managed to left in the end. I then did a bit of a small, cosmetics in the property, got it to look nice. It was a lovely looking property anyway.
What kind of unit mix? Look, I'm just curious. How many rooms? And
it was a 3-bedroom, nice. 3 double bedrooms, 2 bathroom, sleeps 6 people. Right in the center of Chester, a lovely little Roman city with lots going on there. So I got that, and I kind of thought to myself after the first month, wow, this is the right strategy. So I went and bought another property in December. So launched mine in November. Bought another one in December. But what I found with that, it was taking too long to kind of refurbish it. So I was like, well, what can I do that's quicker, that's going to get my pay so I can leave my job?
100%.
Then I started doing what we call rent to rents, but you call it rental arbitrage, I think.
Yeah.
Is it arbitrage you call it?
Arbitrage, yeah, rental arbitrage, yeah. So you rent, so you rent it, and then,
Yeah, so I went out in the December and the January and started taking properties on board. And by the March of that year, the next year, 2019, I had enough money to leave my job. And we just continued to build from there. We did some rent to rents, we continued to buy properties, and we started taking the properties on our own, managing it ourselves, built our own systems around our business and process-driven business, and then started managing other people's properties for them too. And that was 4 years ago. We're 4 years on now, and now getting into kind of building ApartHotels and all sorts of different things.
What's an ApartHotel?
Okay, so great question. So if you think of a serviced accommodation or a Airbnb property being one property, maybe on its own as a single unit, an ApartHotel is like taking one building or a block and building multiple properties under one roof. Yeah, so you're doing multiple units under a single roof. So, for example, something that we've got on at the moment, we've got some stuff up in Morecambe, which is 2 sets of 8 apartments in a building. There's 16 properties. We've got 2 old Victorian buildings down in Llandudno in North Wales, which is 11 apartments.
Wow.
And we're trying to complete just now on another large one up in Morecambe, in the UK, which is 45 apartments under one roof. So it's essentially just multiplying under one roof, and rather than have kind of multiple properties spread across the city, bring them in one place, put them under one roof, take out all the operational headache, like the restaurant, the bar. We remove all that, so if we buy a hotel, for example, sorry, I've just jumped like,
no, this is good.
Different thing there. If we buy an old hotel, let me go back a step. So what we look for is old hotels that are run down, knackered, need doing up, derelict buildings, all that sort of stuff. And what our speciality is we remove all the operational space, which we would class as like a restaurant, bar, anything that's got to have that kind of service with people.
Yeah.
And we put what's called rentable space in there.
What's your thought process behind that? Why might one investor look at that as an opportunity, and you see it as you mentioned it twice, an operational
headache?
So wait, does it make money, or is it a headache that you actually don't want to have? Because actually, one might say, hey, that's nice. You have restaurant, and then you have property, and then maybe the people from the property are like, tell me your thought process, because obviously you've been through this and this is your blueprint, right? So what is your thought process there? Why is it a headache? Is it a headache or an actual financial kind of a liability almost?
Bit of both. Okay. Yeah. So what you tend to find in the UK, especially when you go to kind of seaside towns where we're building our ApartHotels, is that they're very seasonal. So in the up season, when there's lots going on, the operational space makes money. In the down season, it loses money. So we take all that out. We take away the headache of having to have people in the building, because most of our ApartHotels, they're kind of, keyless entry, don't need to have anybody there. It's not reliant heavily on resources of people.
Right. So no front desk or anything like that.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that. None of that. It's all very hands off, keyless entry. Everything's done through our virtual assistants in the Philippines. It's all automated, so it reduces that. It reduces the headache of people being in the place, and it also reduces the cost because we can. It's just a lot more streamlined. And efficient.
Yeah, your overhead is leaner.
Exactly.
How did you know? Like, is that just a pure math number? You look at the old financials of the previous owner, if you have the availability, and say how much can we gross, or are you going to an outside source or looking at local restaurants and saying, well, we don't need another bar here? Like, what not? Or is there wow, I can't think of the word, an exception to the rule? Like, is it on a case by case, this operational headache, or is this something that in your portfolio you're saying absolutely not, lean and mean, this is what we're doing?
Yeah, so great question. I think with the so my fiance that I talked about earlier on, their family has hotels and inns, so they're very operational heavy. So their inns are restaurants with rooms.
Wow.
Or they've got a hotel with a spa and all that sort of stuff, which is very operational heavy. So all I ever hear from them all the time is, we can't get chefs, we can't get staff, we can't get this.
The whole bottleneck, yeah. Because now if you have it, you got to be able to fulfill it, right? You can't be like, oh yeah, we don't have any masseuses, but you say that you do, right?
Yeah. So people, properties are people business, and you need people to run your business. But in my opinion, the less people that you have in the operation, in the processes, the less operational headache you get, because when you have to rely on people get sick, people get ill, people get upset, people get emotional. We try and take as much of that out as we possibly can and streamline it and be more efficient.
Do you happen to know, Dave? I'm so curious because you have such a nice wealth of knowledge and an abundant network. Do you know anyone who's like really crushing it in like that industry of, there's obviously hospitality property, but then there's like the restaurant and all that. And the reason I say that, I'll give you an example. Like, I'm here in New York all the time, and obviously like, like restaurants close all the time, etc. But like, I walk into a place and I immediately think, how much money are they making? Like, I'm looking at the dish, I'm like, okay, we just paid 140, right? We sat here, we had 2 drinks, we had this, blah, blah. We had, we were here for about an hour, and I'm just like trying to do the math in my head. And I'm like, I want to see a general ledger of a restaurant or a business. Like, how profitable is it, or is it not? Like, I don't know. Do you know anyone who's like literally just killing it? Because for me, I'm with you. I'm thinking like, there's no way, right? I don't know. The math doesn't add up to me, but maybe it depends. And I don't know if you know someone who's like, nope, Ruben, like there's like, I know that obviously food is marked up, right? I think there's like a 300% markup on food, etc. But I'm still thinking like the waste and like the inventory and the overhead and the staff and and then renting the space. I don't know, man.
I think running a hotel and inns and a restaurant business, that's going to take years and years and years of knowledge to get it right. And look, my family, other half of the family, they've been doing it for 30 years, right?
Yeah.
So they've got it right. They've got it. They're smashing it. They've got some fantastically lovely places. They're absolutely always full. They're building another one at the moment.
Wow.
They've always done really well, but their product and their quality is absolutely immense. But the amount they have to spend on, the place, and the place that they've just done now, this was just refurbing the place, was 3 million just to refurb it.
But it's luxury. Wait, that's nuts. And are they is it typically they're renting or they're doing net leases? Do you know how it works?
So they own most of their stuff, but the last one that they've just done, they've done like a joint venture. So the person that they joint ventured with put the building in, and then they've done they put the money in to do the refurbishment.
That's another way to do it, right? Now, what about, do you guys have things like what's your take on this? 'Cause I've seen this a lot. Like, um ATMs or like, things that where you can put candy in and get stuff. Like, do you ever think of that as an opportunity, or is that something you're thinking of or tapping into?
So yeah, I mean, look at our apart hotels that we're building, they'll have vending machines in them.
Vending
Uh,
machines. I couldn't think of the word.
yeah,
Thank you.
that's all right. Yeah, they'll have some vending machines in them with
Yeah.
drink food. We'll probably put some kind of like, you know, um, packs in them that have toothbrushes and all that sort of stuff.
That's
There's,
good.
because you haven't got a desk there. If you guests there and they want something quick, there's always something
Oh, that's nice.
in the lobby where they can go and get something quick.
That's good.
But saying that, do we need them? Maybe not. Where we purchase our places, they're always somewhere where they're really close to lots of stuff going on for obvious reasons. So, yeah, I don't know.
What's the because now you get into a space that I think is really interesting or at least intriguing for our listeners. Because I don't think I've had too many people. I don't think I've really had anybody. And I mean, obviously, back when we had Mike wasn't into. I think no, he had a boutique hotel at the time, but it's a very unique space. And so what would you say, when you're in retrospect, when you're looking at it now, and I think you gave us some good context of, having a family member being in the industry for 30 years, so they know what to do and what not to do, right? What works, what doesn't. What do you think is the biggest misconception when it comes to ApartHotels, which is a new word that you've coined here? What do you think is the biggest misconception that someone might have going into it? And maybe let's just be clear, someone who's already in the short-term rental industry is like thinking making that next leap, but they're like, oh, they believe in X when really X is not true.
Okay, great question. So I think with the ApartHotel business, that they're self-catered apartments, right? So there'll be rooms with kitchens and all that sort of stuff. And I think what some people do with them is they think that it has to be like a luxury, over-the-top boutique hotel. Look, if people are going to go for that sort of thing, they're going to want to go somewhere where they've got the service, right? So they press a button, somebody comes to the door, they get room service, they've got a spa.
Turn down service. Yeah. That's a very different, you got another avatar, right?
Exactly that. So I think with the ApartHotel business, you've got to get you've got to get it at a level where it appeals to both leisure customers and contractors / business people. Okay. So there's a level. You don't need to spend too much. You can do things within the apartments to make them look really nice, but it doesn't cost like what you'd spend on a boutique hotel. Now, in serviced accommodation or in Airbnb, we operate in a space where I believe, which is the most profitable, which is it's always been the most profitable for us, which is what I call the sweet spot, where you fill your 4 days in the week with, business or contractor stays, and the weekends are leisure clients or families coming to visit the area to see other people in their family. And if we get our occupancy levels right on that, that's what we call the sweet spot, and that's what we aim at in our market, is to make sure that our places are really well appointed. They look good, they feel good, they smell good, but they're not over the top, because when you spend too much on these types of properties, you're just wasting your money, because people that want that type of luxury stay are going to go and stay in a hotel where they've got all everything around them. So we're not trying to create an experience stay in the ApartHotels, like a log cabin or a tree house or something like that.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. It's very much accommodation for stays and to be self-catered.
Got it.
What's the question?
Oh no, that's a good question. I'm literally just soaking it in right now. I'm like, dude, and these are great insights, because you look at something and everything looks the same until you really know the difference, right? And like from your experience, right? And I love how you stated what it's not, right? And I think that gives someone clarity. And based on that, my next question was going to be, so the $1 million question, right? If I'm facing the exact same question in single family and I'm operating my own Airbnb,
Mhm.
I bet that I'm going to have the same question going into, the apart hotels. And my question is, okay, how do I keep it filled? And one of the questions I had is, for you is, you mention it twice, and I'm very attentive to when someone like you says something twice, because I'm okay. That's key right there. Or you mentioned contractors, right, and companies. Is that a relationship that you actively foster, or is that just what happens to come through the door?
No, that's again, great question. So we do some and some, right? So we use Airbnb and Booking.com and VRBO and Expedia, the kind of online travel agents.
Yep.
It's our marketing tool. We let them get the people to give us the foot through the door, because we're never going, in my opinion, we're never going to compete with them on the marketing. They spend, hundreds of millions of pounds on marketing.
Yeah.
So we let them get their foot through the door, and then we turn them into a customer for life with us. And how we do that is by giving them a fantastic experience and just communicating with them and speaking to them and giving them a discount to come and book with us direct. And we do it after the first night of every guest staying with us. So that's one way we get contractors to stay with us. And we
First night?
Yeah. After the first night, we phone them the next morning, and we go through a process of asking them, making sure they're happy with everything in the property. We then ask them, are you coming back to the area next week? If the answer is yes, would you come and stay back in this property if we give you a 5-10% discount? The answer is always yes, right? Then the next question, which is the most important question, is, so contractors working in the area, where are they working? Generally on sites where there's other contractors or other business people, right?
Oh, wow.
Next question, always, do you know anybody else that's looking for this type of accommodation that would like to stay in the same place as you? Normally the answer is yes.
So you're asking the person that's booking for these contractors, or are you asking the contractor themselves to do the word of mouth?
Both. We do both. So
what's my incentive?
Well, we give vouchers for Amazon, or we might give them some money off of their next stay if they bring people in. We may give them a percentage of what the person that they're going to bring, the other people that they're going to bring in. It's just, honestly, it's a great way to do business.
That's crazy. It's such a simple question too.
So easy. Look, business, in my opinion, business is not difficult. It's only people that make it difficult. It's the simple things that make the big differences.
That's good right there.
And that's really simple, right? You're only asking a question. What's the worst that can happen? They say no.
Yeah.
Generally they say yes.
It's so interesting, because as you get to a certain level, I mean, I think any level really, I was just on a consult call, and they're not cheap calls or whatever, and it's like, it's just about asking the right questions. Like, it's like there's nothing that I'm doing. It's literally, can I ask the next right question? And then you help someone come up with the answer. They answer it themselves if you ask the right question.
Absolutely.
And that's so overlooked, man. That might be your next book, Questions Simplified. I got you, Dave. I'm looking out for the brand, man. I got your back. That might be it. Yeah, you're onto something. For those of you who don't know, we were talking about this offline. You guys got to tap into Dave's book, Airbnb Simplified. Where can we get that, Dave?
It's not out yet. It'll be launched in the next. I'm hoping to launch it before Christmas. It's all been written, designs.
Okay.
But it'll be launched maybe before Christmas or in the new year.
Okay, Santa Claus, we see you coming out with gifts. All right. We'll be looking out then. So Dave, coming to a chimney near you. Airbnb Simplified's coming through, guys. That's awesome. No, no, because you use the word simplified, and it's sometimes we overcomplicated, right? Like what you said, people overcomplicate business. When really it's, what do you need? And what problem can I solve for you?
So what we've tried to do in the book
Mm-hmm.
is go and show, we would call it our serviced accommodation roadmap or our Airbnb roadmap.
Nice.
So we've broken down for where we started,
Yeah.
and we've built a roadmap for each step or each process that we did to grow our multi-million-pound business.
All right. Merry Christmas, y'all. Dude, that's all. I'm getting the book. I will be promoting that. We were just talking about this offline. This is what we do. I mean, Dave, he's done it. I mean, you're exactly where I want to be, right? Like I talk about this with my wife. Now we're not. We want to get a boutique hotel / But look, at the same time, you're putting a label on it, but just understanding who your avatar is, right? Like if a boutique hotel makes sense because of where people are traveling, where they're coming from, what experience they want to have, give them that experience. And all you need to do is do the research. To your point, you've done your research and you say, hey, listen, this group of people, if they wanted this experience, they'd stay at the Ritz-Carlton. So don't try to recreate that. We're serving a specific niche where I don't want to spend $300 a night to $1,000 a night, or I don't actually know what the rates are, but let's say 1,000. I don't want to spend $1,000 a night because I'm coming here for work. I need a place where, you know what, I'm going to come in late, going to be out of the way. I don't even want to talk to anybody. But I want a good place to stay, quality, right? Yeah. And so it always goes back to knowing your avatar. So in your case, like ApartHotels is there a specific, when you talked about 11, another 45 unit that you're, what areas, like when I'm thinking of like, and then what does that look like for you at this stage? Is it just having a broker that understands what you're looking for? Is it a relationship game where you're talking to a lot of mom and pops businesses and saying, hey, what's going on? You trying to get rid of this? What does that look like for you in that process of the scale that you're getting at, right? Just for us people in the back who are trying to follow your lead, what do I do next? Like, okay, it sounds like I might be ready. I'm scratching that itch. What's next?
It's really simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just think about simplifying things. So if you what we've done is we've looked at certain pockets in the UK where property is cheap and serviced accommodation or Airbnb prices are high. So we buy properties that are cheap or, run down. We then do them up, and the return on investment in some places in the UK, the serviced accommodation or Airbnb, what the price that you get is much different to prices that you get in some real high-end cities. So we try and purchase buildings at a lower price and then uplift them. So we look for a couple of things. We look for low price buildings or something that we can purchase at a reasonable price, higher nightly rates and occupancy. And then we also look for places where we know there's going to be some investment in the area and there's going to be things that are built. So Morecambe, for example, over in the UK, we have the what we call the Eden project down in Cornwall. And that is like a big glass dome where people come from all over the world and visit. And then they're building another one up in Morecambe, just across the road from one of these hotels that we've just bought. Well, we're in the process of buying. So we look at the area, how we can buy cheap buildings, the price per night. We use AirDNA and Price Labs for a lot of our analysis. And we just look for the largest, return on investment that we can get, and look at places that are up and coming as well.
Yeah. So you're never buying anything like turnkey, ready to go. You're always looking for an value add component, right?
Yeah. So you talked about the BRR model before. So what we do in our ApartHotels is we do the buy, refurbish, refinance model, but just on a larger scale. It's just, instead of being, 100,000, you just put in another zero or a couple of zeros on the end.
Yeah, that's
but it's still the same. It's still the same process.
Yeah, I mean, that's, we were just, it's funny, I'm wearing a shirt today by chance. I went to the Miami retreat with Mike, and he was talking about that because, it's almost like here our equivalent of multifamily on steroids, because once you get into commercial real estate, the value of the property is based on how much, it generates. It's not limited by the comps, right?
On the net profit or the
EBITDA,
they call it in this country.
So Exactly, right. And which is fascinating, because if you really understand property to begin with, and then you kind of layer and season the short-term rental model to, like, forced, I call it forced appreciation at this point. I mean, like, hello, I'm almost looking around like, why isn't everyone, like, is it just us? Is it is it just because, like,
People don't know what they don't know.
yeah,
You
right.
don't know
No,
what
but
you
even
don't
like the
know.
big
What don't you
multifamily
know?
people, is it just risky for them? Like, I don't understand. Like I look at multifamily operators. I'm in New York City. I see these things all the time here, right? Why not turn your building into a hybrid?
There's so much out there, though. There's enough for everybody. You look at
Yeah.
property or buildings. There's so much out there. There's enough for everybody
Yeah.
to be making money in this game.
Yeah. Listen, man, I want a part two, because the thing is, I want to close this out smoothly. And we got top of the hour here, but I want to see part two. What is your phase two? Because, man, like, you're young, like, you're doing this, and like you're just scratching the surface of thing. Like, what is your vision? Are you gonna, like, create a
Yeah,
fund? Are you gonna, like,
yeah, that with
syndicate these? Like, what's the next move, man?
yeah, so we've got a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
Um,
Ooh, let's
my
hear it.
10-year plan is to sell my business for 100 million in 10 years. So at the moment, we're just building out our serviced accommodation Airbnb. We
Mhm.
just set up a new company where we're doing lettings, so buy to lets or rentals and houses of multiple occupancy. I don't know if you have that in the States. We
Mhm.
manage that too. The reason for doing that was we turned down more on our management side. We turn down more properties than we take on because most of them don't work.
Yeah.
But properties that we were turning down, they were going into buy to let or a HMO. So we set up a company to kind of capitalize on that market too. And we'll just continue to grow. We'll grow our management business on serviced accommodation and the buy-to-lets and HMOs, and we'll also grow our acquisition business. So with ApartHotels and the mixture between the turnover, the net profit, and the value of the assets that we have, in 10 years' time, we'll sell for 100 million. That's the plan.
Dude, I'm right there with you. So, by the way, so thanks for inspiring me. Dope. And inspiring us. But question for you, because I'm a big told you when we were talking offline, I'm a, like, entrepreneur first, then happen to have built a real estate company. Roland Frazier. Are you familiar with Roland Frazier? He's a recovery attorney, buys, and he's been buying businesses and selling them for just tons. And I'm in his mastermind group, actually, and he has a wealth of knowledge. And one of the things that I see in our industry, and I'm curious as to if you're thinking when you say sell, my next question would be which part, because when he talks about, it's like every business can actually create multiple exits within there, right? If you have a holding company, and then it's like, okay, well, this is a management vertical. Then there's actually, let's say, our SOPs or whatever, that's intellectual property. You can sell that. So you can actually sell your business, and there's either you can do a roll up, or you could actually sell different parts. Have you thought of that? Or is like because you say there's management, there's the assets. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
So in the UK, when you kind of sell a business, if you can sell a business that has the operating company and the property company at the same time, so the holding the assets and
Yeah.
the company, there's a multiplier on top of that, which normally around 25 to 30% more than just selling them individually.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you're obviously thinking roll up. Like you could, yeah, you could, but you know that the multiplier will go up putting it together. Yeah.
Exactly that. It's normally 25 or 30%.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. Because if the two work in tandem, it's such a
Yeah, it's vertically integrated.
yeah, exactly.
Dude, you're onto something, man. 10-year, I love that. So consistency, 10-year plan. I see the common denominator, because people are like talking like 10-year terms, they're building something big, so kudos to you, man. You're building something big. I like that.
Can I give you a couple of books? You sound like the type of person that would love these two books that I'm going to give.
Gosh, please.
Right now, right?
Yeah.
If you're looking to grow a business and you're looking to achieve big things, there's two books I would like you to read, or the listeners to read. which have been massively game changing for me, especially if you're building teams of people and businesses and all that sort of stuff. They're an absolute fantastic book. They're both by the same person. The first one is Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman.
Yeah.
Rocket Fuel, fantastic book. What that will do is it'll show you the type of person you are. And there's visionaries and integrators. If you're a visionary, you're a business grower, that'll tell you. It's once you start reading it, you know who you are once you've read it. Then when you finish that book, I'd like to go on to a book called Traction, okay, by Gino Wickman.
Yeah,
those two books will change your business person. They will change your life.
It's funny because I have both of them, but I have not finished Rocket Fuel.
Okay.
But thank you for planning. What's that?
What do you think of them?
Oh, you kidding me? No, I need to review Traction. Like Traction is the whole thing. That's how I built. I have a little org chart. You know, who's the operator, who's the visionary, who is like, and then the EOS. There's a
entrepreneurial operating system.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
I've built my whole business and plan around that.
I'm so glad to hear that. That's because we come into the lab and we need to hear that. Like, okay, I'm like, what are you echoing? What pillars are you echoing? And these are the ingredients that we'll definitely want to make sure that we echo out to our listeners as well. Dave, man, I'm going to be following your journey and I want to check in for part 2, 3, 4. I might have to check in. We'll do it like you said 10 years, every 2.5 years, we're going to get on the track your progress. And then we'll write another book on it. Like the 100 million exit simplified. Yeah. It's not simple. It's not simple. I don't know. We can't lie to the people, man. You're putting in that work. But man, good for you, man. Is there where can we, obviously you got a book coming out. We're gonna look out for you in a Santa Claus and kind of deliver that to us, which we appreciate. But like, you talk about the Clubhouse Daily Host, We Talk Property Club as well. Where or do you like to engage with people the most? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can come and find me every morning from Monday to Friday, 7:30 till 8:30 UK time on Clubhouse, called We Talk Property, and it's the property coffee meet. Yeah. Look, I'm across all channels. I mean, I can send you my link tree if you want, and it's got everything on there.
Oh yeah.
Facebook groups.
Yeah.
My serviced accommodation stuff that I have, my business. I could send you that, and you can maybe put it on the podcast and people can.
Oh yeah, we'll put it on there. I just want to make sure that we give the people a place if they're listening right now. I'm an Instagram guy, so I got Dave Goodfellow. Sorry about that. The way I was thinking, right? Good, Dave Goodfellow official, right? That's what it is. On Instagram, I have it open right here. And definitely tap in there. The link tree is there. That's where I engage the most. You can kind of see all the good stuff that Dave's doing. And it has all his, we didn't even talk about the Ikonic Training. You want to give a shout out of that real quick?
Yeah. So Ikonic Training Academy is, we have a training business where we take people who are looking to either get into serviced accommodation or Airbnb, or want to grow their businesses and scale their businesses. We have a training academy where we help people do that too.
Amazing. Well, listen, guys, keep your hands on the wheel if you're listening to this, and we'll make sure that we have everything in the show notes. But you're definitely going to want to follow this gentleman's journey and the impact he's having in our community, internationally at this point, because we're overseas. But Dave, thank you so much for spending time. Listen, we're going to keep keeping tabs on you and your TikTok. We got to talk about that, man. We're going to be following you there as well. No, I didn't let you go that challenge, that off the hook, that easy, my friend. So you got some wisdom you got to share with the people.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. But you got too much wisdom to share with people. We got to have you on all these platforms, brother. But thank you for coming on the show so much, guys. And just like that, we are out.